this special show on ET Now. We are calling it Campus Check to give you a sense of the placements at the IITs, the IIMs, at other colleges, because on the face of it, it looks like all these campuses have shrugged off the post-COVID blues, the pandemic blues, and placements are actually looking very good. So the crorepati, the 1 crore plus salaries are back on campus. You have the big consulting firms that are actively recruiting at the IIMs, and you also have internet and startup companies making their presence felt in a huge way. Well, I was going through some of the offers, some of the international offers and packages, and it made me want to go back and perhaps try to crack JEE and CAT, going by how they are shaping up. But it's amazing to see that these are perhaps the first signs of the formal economy kicking back. Is it sustainable? Will it percolate to other campuses in the country? For more perspective on that, we have three very special guests. Professor Amit Karna, who heads the placements division at IIM Ahmedabad. They've just completed their summer placements. We also have Anisha Oberoi Madan, who heads the career services cell at IIT Delhi. They've seen record placements on day one. We also have Ram Kumar, who's sort of the bridge between industry and academia. He is the former chairman and managing director of Cognizant India, and he's now also the CEO of the Chennai Mathematical Institute. He's involved with various other engineering medical colleges, also works with the AICTE. Thank you all so much for joining us on ET Now. Professor Karna, I'm going to start with you. You've completed summer placements in 3 clusters. What are the top trends that you're seeing at this point? And in terms of the stipends, how are they compared to previous years? Are they higher? Are they the same? Give us some perspective on these trends.
Thank you, Chandra. So we completed the summer placements, as you said, in 3 clusters. We had the cluster 1 on 1st of December, the second one on 4th, and the third one on 7th of December. In terms of stipends, we don't really compare or slot the companies based on stipends. So we just compare the companies based on the sector that they come from. And I don't have any very valid information on how the stipends were. But from what we know, looking at the job descriptions of the summer internship projects, the stipends have been pretty much the same, or maybe just adjusted upwards for inflation. But in terms of the offers that we saw flowing through the recruiters in terms of sectors, we saw a very clear uptick, but we saw almost double of tech and internet companies going out, as in the students going out to those sectors. So roughly around 70 plus, around 70 to 80 offers were there from tech sector, which usually is around 40. So that has been a very clear trend towards companies that are not from manufacturing sector and from technology side have seen an uptick. Second, we also saw that larger firms, for example, the top consulting firms, the top VC and the private equity firms, top tech firms, the larger firms have hired more, and kind of they have outshined the smaller players in almost every sector. So these two trends are very clear as of now, that and it was good for the students also to get more opportunities in more reputed brands across different sectors. And also many of them, I'm sure there are also, and there still are apprehensions whether the summers will happen in a virtual mode, will that happen on the location. So people are still unclear, but we are seeing that there have been more offers coming in from the tech and internet firms.
Right. A quick follow-up question for you, Professor Karna. Usually when it comes to IMA, we've seen students gravitating to the McKinseys, the Deloitte, the Accentures, and the Bains of the world. Are you seeing a shift this time around? Are students perhaps gravitating towards the internet companies and the unicorns? Because I saw in your announcements, Unacademy has made some 8 offers. Razorpay is hiring, PayU is hiring, Amazon, Flipkart have rolled out offers. So are you seeing a lot of interest from companies, from students as well, to take up these offers? Because internet companies are so much in the news. So many of these companies have turned unicorns this year.
Yes. If I look at the trend for the last 3 or 4 years, this trend has been there. There have been undercurrents towards companies, Amazon, Flipkart, they have been hiring for the last 2, 3 years and increasing the numbers. But you're right, what you rightly identified, there has been, as I said earlier, an uptick, and this uptick is primarily driven by 3 or 4 sectors. One is on education, so online education. Second, like you said, Razorpay and the likes from the fintech segment, and health tech and pharma, right? So these have been 2, 3 sectors. So e-commerce has been growing for the last few years, but this year in particular, education, fintech, and health tech are the three tech sectors which have seen from both the sides. So there have been more firms coming in, and the students have also shown more interest in joining these sectors.
Even as we speak, I think IMB will kick off their placements soon. IIM Kozhikode, IIM Lucknow have completed 100% summer placements, and IIM Calcutta also completed 100% summer placements. Some very positive trends there as well. But moving on to the IITs, Anisha, thank you for being part of the show. I think day one we saw 300 offers. The likes of Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, and Intel were some of the top recruiters. But tell us about the international offers. I read somewhere that Sony Japan offered some 1.63 crore package. So are 1 crore plus packages back at the IITs this year, going by the trends at IIT Bombay, IIT Roorkee, and all the other IITs?
When you talk of international offers, many of them do cross a crore. When you do that simple multiplication formula, we don't do that as far as IIT Delhi is concerned. We look at domestic offers as domestic offers and international offers as international offers. I would not like to compare the two. Given that, yes, if it's an international offer, obviously if you do that multiplication factor, it looks a really nice figure, right? They are there on campus, yes. But like we said, in IIT Delhi, we have a policy where we do not like to get into that salary paradigm. It's a good paradigm. Media likes it. That's where we leave it.
Right, but tell us about some of the unusual recruiters, perhaps. I mean, who's rolling out international offers this time? Again, like IMA, are you seeing a lot of internet companies coming on campus?
We at IIT Delhi try to get a good mix in any placement season, and we have strived to do that this year round as well. Given that international offers, many companies have recruited for the moment for the domestic role, and given how the situation evolves by July, because these students are not joining before July. And coming to the internet companies, like I said, we have had a good mix. We don't just concentrate on internet companies. We try to because our pool is very large in terms of the kind of skill strengths the students bring in. So we don't concentrate on any one sector. We like to give that breadth to the students as well. So industry has been coming in good numbers this year as well.
Right. Ramkumar, right. Ramkumar, over to you. You've heard out IIM, IIT, and it's the same with other IITs and IIMs as well. All of them are talking about better placements. Some are even talking about better packages. Even domestic packages seem to be looking better. So is this a sign of an uptick in the formal economy? I mean, you are someone who's been one of the top 3 recruiters on engineering campuses in your previous avatar at Cognizant. You now work with a lot of engineering colleges, medical colleges. What's the sense that you're getting from all these colleges? I mean, is the optimism here to stay across campuses, or are we kind of fixating too much on the IITs and the IIMs?
I think if you step back a bit, any placement is a function of both demand and supply. And I would argue with an emphasis on the proportion of talent that is employable in the marketplace. In the last few years, both demand and supply have gone up in terms of volume as well as the quality of jobs in India for a variety of reasons. Demand is up because of GDP growth, significant FDI inflows into the country. Coming from the IT industry, I can tell you that the growth of captives or the global innovation centers has been on an acceleration. Today, they contribute to almost about 25% of the export revenue, employing a little over 1 million people. A very vibrant startup ecosystem. Newer industries playing a big role in driving jobs in places like electronics manufacturing, renewable energy, and also a renewed focus on exports. This is one aspect of demand, and the other aspect of demand is newer technologies are driving companies to reimagine both their business and operating models. This clearly is driving demand. And on the supply side, I would say that the supply has gone up and the quality of supply is also exceptionally good.
Professor Karna, it is a sea change from the time we were speaking in March, April. So what has really changed? What's the sense that you're getting from these recruiters? Is it a sign of the overall demand improving, or, it's just that IMA students will anyways do well when it comes to the job market? What kind of signals are you picking up from these recruiters?
The first discussion that we started having with recruiters was how to have the process for the summer placements, right? So we conducted the entire process virtually, and it was good that we did that, because we still aren't sure when the colleges will open, and so we were able to conduct the entire process in a virtual format. So that was one on the process side. I think as far as the hiring needs of the industry goes, as Mr. Ramamurthy said, there has been a demand. So most of the conversations I've had with the recruiters, they are looking for talent. Also try and remember, this is the batch of 2022 that we are currently talking about for summer placement. So they will formally enter the job market only in 2022 summer. So by then, companies are looking at having a much higher demand for employees. Also, I think this is also the time for them to revisit their talent requirements. So many companies have been saying that we would like to hire only from select campuses where the quality of students is better, and that has also helped us increase our offers from some of the companies that are going to different campuses by them concentrating towards better students who can help them recover from this pandemic and related recession that has engulfed the industry. So that said, I think there is always going to be demand for good talent. The students who are currently graduating this year or in the next years should try to think as to what is the value that they can add to the organizations, and there will always be demand for good talent coming out of these top schools.
Right. The same question to you, Anisha. Professor Karna said that the students who will bag summer placements will enter the workforce only in 2022. So perhaps companies are looking at that time frame for a full recovery. But in case of the IIT students, I think these are final year students sitting for placement who might enter the job market next year. So what's the sense again that you've got from recruiters this time, particularly since you mentioned that, a lot of international offers are coming in, not just from the US, but also from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East?
Yeah, so just taking what Professor Karnav said forward, because all that he has said is similar to what we are feeling in the IITs as well. We had our summer placements for that batch, the first phase in September. And we were also surprised to see that for the summer placement, the kind of uptake that was from industry was really good. Again, same reason that by 22, people are expecting, in fact, starting from next month itself, once the vaccine is out, the hope is there that things will start improving, right? We all got into a virtual process. The good part is now both the recruiters and the campuses are getting tuned to the virtual way of working. And it is sort of working for both sides in terms of process issues and how to run the process, how they do the recruitment and all of that. That said, for the 2021 batch also, even though the summer placements went really well, we were not so sure when we started with that how would the uptake for the 2021 batch be. But we have been pleasantly surprised. It is better than what we expected. We always want more. It could have been better, but given the situation, I believe that it is going pretty well. And phase 2, which starts January onwards and goes on up to end of May, I'm sure things will get much better, even for because we span the entire 6 months starting from December to May. So I'm sure the second phase will also go just as well, and hopefully it will go at the same kind of a pace. That's my feeling, because industry is giving us good signs in terms of the talent needs.
Right. Ramkumar, I want to come back to the first question I asked you. Will we see this happen in the smaller colleges as well, the non-IITs, the non-IIMs? I mean, I'm not talking about the NITs, but the other colleges, the smaller ones in different cities.
I think there are two trends that are happening in parallel. One, what Professor Karna said is there is a sense of polarization where some of the best recruiters gravitate to exceptionally run progressive institutions which have a great stature and standing built over several decades. But with some of the newer recruiting models, many of the large recruiters have gone to a platform-based model. Some of the companies are adopting hackathons and newer forms of testing of talent. So while there is this polarization and the better run institutions have a significant suction power to attract some of the best talent, I'm sure that all of us would agree that exceptionally good talent even resides in the hinterland and what is today referred to as tier 2 and tier 3 institutions with these newer models for recruiting. And I would argue that the pandemic and the virtual models have only accelerated this move towards reaching out to the hinterland institutions to attract some of the best students who are available in these institutions.
But Professor Karna, what has been the interest from students as far as starting up and entrepreneurship is concerned? Are there students opting out of placements and pursuing an entrepreneurial journey instead? Are you seeing an uptick in that?
So we have at IIM Ahmedabad, we have a special program by our the incubator arm, CIIE Co, which is a 2-year placement holiday and some mentorship and funding support provided to the students. So, well, I was looking at the trends, and I think 2014, 2015, 16 period was really very good for that. This year, the program hasn't kicked off yet. It will be in December, when just before the final placements, the students make that choice, whether they would like to go in for entrepreneurship or take up placements. So last couple of years, the numbers have not been that high. This year remains to be seen how it is. But see, once the students take up entrepreneurship, they will also require, beyond the funding support that we provide, funding from the industry, from the VC firms and so on. So if this year the deal flow of those companies increases, there is an incentive on the part of the students to take up something. But what I see is, and also it is partially driven by the fact that there are fees to be paid and loans to be repaid by the students, that they take around 2 or 3 years to complete the financial obligations and then take up entrepreneurship. That level of interest from those who have graduated around 2-3 years back continues to be there. And I see a lot of those students who have got some time during the lockdown, during restrictions, being at home, reflected upon where they want to be in the next 5 to 10 years. They are continuing to take the entrepreneurial route. And we believe it will continue, as in there is no major uptick right now because, see, there are also these internet companies and tech companies that are providing them a good learning ground to join them as a product manager or join them as a business development managers. So they're looking at this more as a time to go to those opportunities first, and then it is generally followed by an entrepreneurship boom after this. Tech companies start hiring a lot.
Right. Anisha, IIT Delhi, of course, has produced many entrepreneurs, including, Sachin Bansal and Vinny Bansal, who founded Flipkart. But what trends are you again seeing there in terms of starting up? Initially, at the height of COVID, people thought many students would opt for higher education because the job market didn't look too good. But now the job market's picked up. But in terms of starting up, what trends are you seeing there?
Similar to the IIMs, we also have a deferred placement program where we give them that 2 years to sort of experiment with that idea. Typically, the trend that I have seen, it has been similar to the previous years. So there's nothing spectacularly different in the number of students opting for that route. But that said, that is the students who actually opt for it. And like Professor Arnav said, we may not be even capturing the data of people who start their entrepreneurial journey after they have left the campus.
Or a student entering the job market, or somebody who's looking at all these placements happening at IIT, IIMs and wondering, how he or she can get placed. What would your advice be? What should be that 1 or 2 or 3 skills that a student entering the job market today must have, and something that might give them an edge when it comes to the job market?
I think whenever a question on skills is asked, most people mistake it to be technical skills such as data science, cybersecurity, robotics, or virtual reality, so on and so forth. I think the true skills that are needed are in a little more broad categories around problem solving and logical reasoning, self-management, the ability to collaborate and work with people, technology use and development and deployment, so on and so forth. I think the World Economic Forum earlier this year came up with 10 very clear guiding skills. Maybe I'll just pick about 2 or 3 of them to highlight how important these skills are in the current job market. One is active learning and learning strategies. I am sure that all of us have heard of this term learning agility. With the pace of change that's happening around us, the ability to unlearn, relearn, and continuously learn is extremely important. And if I were to go to Google today and then key in any of the technical skills, you'd probably find that the search results run to several pages. So the ability to pick the right course at the right and read it at the right pace and in the right sequence by decluttering stuff, I think that learning strategy is extremely important in today's context. A second capability or skill is complex problem solving. And I would even go one step further and then say problem finding skills. See, earlier, about 10 years or 5 years back, many of the customers knew what the business problem was. And they brought in partners to use technology or other means to solve the business problem. Today, with newer digital technologies opening up markets, creating newer business models that compete with existing players, problem finding capability is equally important. Just look at the context of pandemic. Finding a vaccine is a complex problem solving ability, but then transporting the vaccine that has been found is a very, very different capability that is needed.
Right. Hopefully students are listening actively and taking notes of those important skills. But on that note, thank you all 3 of you very much for joining us on ET Now to take us through the key trends as far as placements this season are concerned, and also what skills students really need to equip themselves with in the post-COVID world. But it's great to see most institutions in India shrug off the COVID blues, as it were, and snag a lot of good jobs in the market. But on that note, thank you all very much for joining us on ET Now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra. Thank you.